Over the 4 years in this franchise, we have managed to completely change this Rockies team, going from losing over 100 games in Season 1 to winning our first playoff games last season. I think this can be a very competitive playoff team, and that's why we are coming off a very aggressive offseason that saw us go after Jake DeGrom, who might be coming off a down season, and maybe his best baseball's behind him, but he's a huge upgrade for us. But we weren't done there. Adding Corbin Burnes from the Milwaukee Brewers. We have 3 legitimate number 1 pitchers, I feel, on this pitching staff now, and we got Burnes on a decent 2-year contract. I just feel like when you're up against the Padres and the Dodgers every year, we had to be very serious about this current window. And I also had to address some things in the bullpen. We've been a good pitching team, but that's not stopping me from going out to try and find upgrades. So we've also brought in a few relievers this season. One player we're hoping takes on a major role is Lucas Sims, who again is coming off a down season, but over the course of the past handful of years, he's been a very good reliever. We made one move for the offense, and that was to bring in Josh Bell to be that power bat off the bench and add some depth at first base and right field. While we certainly are trying to win right now, we're also going to be developing some young players on the roster this year. I've changed Austin Martin's secondary position to include the entire outfield, but he is one of many young players that have a chance to be on this active roster this year, and this entire process has been accelerated because these players are all out of options. They're going to be coming to spring training, but we're not able to send them down without them clearing waivers. So we're going to have a very young bench, and spring training was going to be all about me trying to figure out who would make the roster and who might be traded. But look at this as a big all-in year before possible changes next season, because there are a lot of free agents who I expect to make a lot more money next year compared to this season. This is the big year for us to do as much damage as we can. This is the year we've been building towards. So let's go through spring training today and set the stage for year 5 here in the Rockies franchise. And we're going to open with the pitching edition of Corbin Burnes. Burnes has been very good in this series. He's an 88 overall right now. And early on, I got to see just how nasty that cutter of his is. It has 91 break. Expect a lot of cutters when Corbin Burnes is out there. Now, Burnes is 30 years old. We signed him to the 2-year deal, so it's nice to not have everybody be a free agent all at the same time. Over the past few years, Burnes has done a good job preventing home runs. 2 of those years, he was under a 1 home run per 9. On this swing, he missed, and this is going to stay in the park as Jacob Pearson is out to make the catch. But Burnes was a 2.7 WAR player a season ago, 3.5 and 3.7 the years prior. You could argue that of all these pitching additions we've made, we're not getting anybody at the peak of their career, but we're also not a major market team with the biggest budget. So this is kind of the best way for us to attack and hope that we can get maybe a bounce back from a guy like Lucas Sims and at least get steady play from Burnes and Jake DeGrom. Now we're hoping that some young players help make a difference for us as well. Johnny Schaefer playing catcher in his 2nd season. He has to improve hitting against right-handed pitching. That's the number 1 thing with him. Right now, the plan with Corbin Burnes is to have him be the 3rd guy in the rotation, which shows how much deeper this team has gotten. And while we've been a good pitching team now for a couple years in the franchise, we had struggles last year in the bullpen, especially with that multi-inning guy. And I don't know that Lucas Sims can be that player, but I know that his stock had fallen after a down season a year ago. But he was coming off a few really good years, and I'm hoping for the bounce back. Early on in this outing, Sims really wasn't as sharp as you would like to see, and the control wasn't there. A lot of these pitches missed way out of the zone. Here's an example of him missing in the zone. This is definitely a risky move for us, but it's also for a player who's on a 2-year, $10 million contract. Sims, over his career, has been prone to the home run ball, and last year he had a 1.8 home run per 9. I honestly don't know if he's the best fit for that. First guy out if the starter only goes, 3 2/3. And last year, his role in Cincinnati was as their closer, and he had 37 saves, 6 blown saves with a 4.5 ERA, giving up 9 homers and 44 innings pitched. Going to the offensive side of things, I feel like Xavier Edwards already made the roster with his play a year ago. He was a late call-up for us and provides depth for the infield, and is one of the higher potential players in the organization. Now, Josh Bell basically takes over for Anthony Santander as that best power bat coming off the bench. And he's obviously a proven power guy that can play first and right field. Last year went yard 27 times, 25 the year before. He's also put up over 100 RBIs in this series. So that's a great player to have coming off your bench. And we're paying him $11 million this season. Now, I was hoping to have a few more offensive highlights to show you here, but not much was happening early in the game. But here's us taking on Jonathan Loaizaga later in this matchup, a player we actually targeted right away in free agency. Adael Amador at the plate. He's a player who's probably a couple years away, but he's on a great path right now to being an infielder at the big league level. He walks. We just need one. Who can supply the game-winning hit for us? Ryan Valade. That's in the air, right center field. And it's caught with a bluff tag to third base. So that didn't help us out. Jacob Pearson. We acquired him back in the Trevor Story deal. He grounds it to the right side. Out at second and safe at first. But now 2 away and it takes a hit. Johnny Schaefer facing the righty. The stats are cleared, but I'm pretty sure he hit around like 150 against righties a year ago. He rips this one, well hit to left field, but caught to end the 10th inning. But that's the kind of contact we're looking for, so in a way, that's still a plus for Schaefer. Top 11 now, Ryan Rollison is on the mound, and this is a deep drive into the gap. And no one able to tag up on that, 2 away. Rollison trying to send us to the bottom of the 11th, and that will be the case. Another chance to go and win the game here. We have that extra inning runner at second, of course. Xavier Edwards jammed a bit. This into shallow center. That won't get it done. How about Austin Martin? 90 potential, 26 years old. And now 2 away, 3-2 count. Martin in the air, right field, into the gap, and the catch is made. I thought these games were supposed to be quick and over with here with these extra inning rules, but we're headed to the 12th now. And this is Jace Fry. So we made the trade with Herman Marquez being sent to the White Sox to clear some salary, and we got Jace Fry. Kind of an adventure there in center field, but hey, the catch is made. Aramis Garcia next. That's a good pitch on the outside there for Fry. Comes back 3-2, and that's belted to center field. Definitely deep enough to tag, and this time we do have a run scored. So we've got to answer back. Bottom 12. It's Casey Golden in the air to right field. And a diving catch, but a tag from third base as we retie the game. This has to be like the deepest I've gone into an extra inning game here with these rules. Jace Fry strikes out Christian Arroyo to lead off the 13th inning. Anderson Miller is next. And he goes 0 for 5, striking out Looking. Now, at this point, the A's were out of bench players. Obviously, in spring training, they're trying to get everybody involved, and you're not planning on a game going this long. So Trevor Rosenthal had to hit, but could not make contact, leaving this game tied going bottom 13. Back to Ryan Valade with Connor Joe at second base. That's a base hit right field. Joe turns the corner, heading home, and wins the game for Colorado. Took a while, but it's Ryan Valade who supplies the game-winning single. Valade is 24 years old with 86 potential. Now, I played that game very early in the spring, but then wanted to sim a bunch of games before getting into another one, just so there would be more stats to talk about to see how the springs were going for a lot of these players. I was hopeful that we'd have some young players shine, but unfortunately, they really all had their struggles. Zach Veen included, 2020 first-round pick. He lines out there to first. Let's go to Jake DeGrom. Numbers don't look spectacular here. You see the high ERA, but it's just the spring. You can have one bad at-bat wreck your ERA here. Now, for some reason, DeGrom didn't start this game at max stamina. He must have been used as a reliever, so that's already not ideal. But the control clearly not there facing this first hitter. That brings up Greg Allen after the walk. And that's into left field. Geronimo over to make this catch. DeGrom still has all of his velocity, easily hitting 100 with the fastball. Here he is facing Franmil Reyes, and he throws a couple good breaking balls and gets the ground ball double play to end the inning. Let's get to some offense now. I wanted to get some good clips here for the episode. And Rafael Devers is back for his second year, ready to cash in with a big free agent contract next season. And then Dom Thompson-Williams gets jammed a bit. This into left field, it lands safely. And then an errant throw, and things are falling apart here quickly. Devers moving up to third base on that play. So a chance for Xavier Edwards. Hitting 167 here in the spring. Gets the breaking ball and rolls it over to second base. He's doubled up despite great speed. I talked about DeGrom coming off a down season. His FIP was up to 4.16, a full point above his 3.12 he posted in 2023. And it looks like that was the result of more walks than usual, but also a good 50% increase to his home run rate allowed. He was only a 2.2 WAR player instead of the usual 5 or 7 he's been in this franchise. But I still think that even if we're only getting like 85% of like the best he's got, I still have to think he's a great addition to this starting rotation. And I just didn't want to bank on the same veterans who like posted career years doing it all over again. I wanted to be aggressive because I feel like this is the time to do it. Fourth inning. How about an opposite field hit here for Josh Bell? A perfect swing going oppo. You don't see that often here. Geronimo heading home. There will be no play. It's an RBI double. The way Josh Bell has played the last couple of years, he's certainly good enough to start. I'm surprised there wasn't more free agent interest. He's on second now, and there's a drive, launched deep to right field. It's Dom Thompson-Williams with a 2-run blast. Dom was on our bench last season, and I looked at him as a roster bubble player going into this spring training. He hit .218 with 4 home runs to start his career. He's a C potential player at 28 years old. Let's go back to the pitching now. Lucas Sims here again. The control definitely feels like it's a bit of a concern early on, but he shatters the bat of Franmil Reyes. Here is Bobby Salazar, a 1-2 count, and Sims gets him looking with the fastball outside. Looking to end the inning, this is Francisco Mejia. Curveball a bit up, but it's outside at least. Trying to challenge here, 2 strikes, but Mejia not offering. There's a good pitch, pulled into second base, and it ends the inning. Moving on again, Josh Bell in the 6th. The numbers for him, very good here in the spring. And he puts a drive into this one. It's hit well out to left center field. Carrying and gone! Josh Bell having a fantastic spring training. He ended up being our highest OPS hitter. So that is a great sign going into the season. How about Ethan Small? Our lone Rule 5 pickup this year. I felt, why not give a chance to a pitcher, we could use some bullpen help, and who knows what the rotation looks like a year from now. Small has played really well here in the spring and has 80 potential. Could be a starter one day. Here he is facing Franmil Reyes, who loves facing lefties. Led the American League in home runs last season. 2-2. That's a good pitch, but now 3-2. How do you go after Franmil Reyes? Outside with the changeup, a beautiful 3-2 pitch. Ethan Small really making an impression here in the spring. Looking at his stats, he doesn't do anything spectacularly, but he does everything pretty well. He has a good home run per 9 at 72. His pitches all have, like, you know, velocities and controls and movements in the 60s. Like, he's not going to blow you away with anything, but he just gets outs. And the control felt good. He had command of all of his pitches. So if there was ever a way for a Rule 5 pitcher to make this team, it sure looked like Ethan Small was doing exactly that. Here he picks up the strikeout. I was very impressed and gave him multiple innings in this game. I wanted to see what he was really capable of. Who knows? He could end up being the long relief guy we've been looking for. He looked like it here in the spring. 3 shutdown innings here against Oakland. Let's go to the 9th now. It is Adael Amador at the plate with a beautiful single into center field. With that curveball away, found a way to do something with it. Now Xavier Edwards. That is smoked into right field. Great contact. I expect Edwards to play a lot this year. He will make the final roster. But here's Johnny Schaefer, again facing the righty. I want to highlight these at-bats for him as he works this count 2-2 and gets a changeup left up. And that is not what you want to see. Just a pop-up here in the infield. Let's go bottom 9. This is Jace Fry once again. All these relievers we added ended up posting really good numbers here in the spring. Here he's ahead of Chucky Robinson. That's into shallow left center field. And Geronimo there for out number 2. Aramis Garcia next. He's out in front of the fastball. Fry, 2 strikes. Got him with the changeup to end the game. Great appearance for Jace Fry. And with how many relievers stood out, it made final cuts really difficult. Now, I haven't showed you a ton of offensive clips. We know the veterans, there's not much of a point to show you Geronimo or Devers doing stuff we're used to. I wanted to highlight the players we haven't seen much of, and there just wasn't much to highlight. Austin Martin hitting 174. Some of these hitters are really hard to develop, I guess. We found that in this series. There are no sure things. Didn't work out with Brendan Rodgers, Garrett Hampson, so I've ended up defaulting to so many veterans, waiting for some of these hitters to truly develop. It's worked with David Geronimo, but I think we're waiting for more players to really put it all together. So Martin is a player who can play short. He can play in the outfield. I couldn't also give him second base. It wasn't an option here editing his positions. Zach Veen, I actually had really high expectations for here in the spring, as he was maybe our best minor league hitter, period, last year. Despite getting hurt, still posted very good numbers even when he came back from injury. His spring was absolutely terrible. He finished the spring without a single extra base hit, giving him a 0 isolated power. Obviously, most of these players have high potentials and we're going to stay patient, but is it going to end up working out for these players? It's hard to say, especially when so many have already moved on in this series. I thought it would work out with Hampson and Brendan Rodgers, so I don't know. Zach Veen is out of options, though, so he is going to make this active roster. Here we are facing German Marquez with the White Sox now, and Marquez pitched really well against us. Trying to get something going with Zach Veen, and the pitches are there, but the contact is not. Ground ball, right side, and Veen retired again. overall, I'm excited to have a young bench, and I'm hopeful that getting regular at-bats will be helpful to at least some of their development this season. But it's hard to be super confident right now with all I've seen. Let's go bottom 9 here. This is the final spring training game. Dom Nunez nearly takes Garrett Crochet yard. That brings up Xavier Edwards with 1 down. And he's going to opposite field. 101 on the fastball. Thanks for supplying the power. Xavier Edwards closing the spring strong. Can we get one more run, make things really interesting? Well, there's a 102 mile per hour fastball. Crochet is the only pitcher I've seen in this game that has hit that mark. And Nimmo hits it hard right back up the middle, and the shift ruined that fun. And the spring ends with a loss to the White Sox, 5-4. Oh wait, no, I have one more game, my bad. This is the final game, actually. So we have Austin Martin once again at the plate, just hoping for a couple highlights to finish it out. Ground ball to short, nice throw. 6th inning, Shane McClanahan on the mound, and that's hit well. I know it's taken away on the dive, but at this point, I just want good contact for these guys. Now let's close it out with Lucas Sims. 12.2 innings, it's gone fairly well, but a high average allowed to righties. He does get Gutierrez here with a good breaking ball. Then Ryder Jones with 2 down, pulled to the right side, and Fry covering ends the game. So as far as the pitching goes, I was very impressed. As far as the offense goes, I mean, we got what you expected from the veterans and the core starting lineup. But as far as the bench goes, there's a lot of potential that's unrealized at this point. So that's an end to spring training here in year 5. The veterans at least played well. The offense was not great at consistently reaching base, but we still scored runs, and we had the long ball on our side. We were at least average there. And then for the pitching, it ended up turning out really well. 5th in hits allowed and 8th in runs allowed. So a brief look then at our leaders, and as I said, the veterans were all really solid. Plenty of hits, home runs, 4 for Devers, 4 for Turner, 3 for Reynolds and Nimmo. Josh Bell, 1249 OPS. You gotta call him the spring training MVP. But Dom Nunez is a 1.2 WAR player, with Zach Veen being minus 1.2. I mentioned 0 extra base hits. There were no highlights for Zach Veen. Maybe some good plays in the field. But 2020's first round pick will be making the team. We did have some pitchers give up more home runs than you expect. 6 for Severino, 4 for Yanni Chirinos. But we'll see what happens when the games actually count. Getting down to 26 players on the roster was a little bit of a challenge. But ultimately, I felt like Ethan Small showed us enough to earn a spot. So we begin with the cuts. And getting players I didn't really consider out of the way early. Ryan Rollison being sent down. Roel Ramirez will go to AAA. Errol Vera. And then Adale Amador. More players that are probably a year or 2 away. Jacob Pearson being sent down. Looks like this AAA team could be a lot of fun. So at this point, I had 8 pitchers in the bullpen, and I wanted to see if it would work out staying that way. I think I'm used to having 7 pitchers in the bullpen, but I didn't want to cut anybody in that first little wave. Connor Joe, he's been one of my favorites in this series, but he's getting older, only has C potential, and it's just time for us to move on. He'll go down to AAA. So here are the players trying to make the roster on the bench. There are a lot of players that we haven't seen a lot of. So basically, I just took a look at all of their ages, all of their potentials, to kind of make the decisions from there. Zach Veen, Austin Martin, Xavier Edwards all have potentials at least at 90. Ryan Valade sits at 86. with Colton Welker at 84 and Dom Thompson-Williams at 78, also being older than all the other players at 28 years old. So I then decided I couldn't cut enough of these players or trade, so I sent Jace Fry down to AAA, considering he had the options. So I have the ability to bring him back if I need to. That's where I could get flexibility. But then, I've talked about this for a while, I knew eventually I'd have to make some trades. And the first player traded here is Dom Thompson-Williams, who did have some highlights there in the spring, but I feel like he's reached his ceiling, and we're going to be acquiring a pitcher from the Orioles. And then Colton Welker will be traded to the Houston Astros. We're going to get Salvatore Francisco in return, really addressing pitching here in these trades so that we can develop more starting pitching and not have to be so aggressive in free agency. If the pitching side of things works out for us, then we can allocate more of our budget to free agent hitters if we're unable to actually develop ones of our own. That's kind of been the trend of this series, and I'm setting up for that to possibly continue. But we are now down to a 26-man roster, and I'm excited about this bench with Josh Bell, Johnny Schaefer, Xavier Edwards, Austin Martin, Zach Veen, and Ryan Valade. There's so much potential there. Someone's gotta break out, I feel. And we're going to open this season against Shane Bieber and the San Francisco Giants. We take on them and the Dodgers on the road. We're not in Denver much here in the season's first month, so that's going to be a challenge on its own. I am targeting Sunday for the opening day episode, and I'm hoping we can move at a faster pace this season. Last year took a long time, and I think that we can handle a bit more simulating in this one. But I hope you enjoyed the episode and are looking forward to year 5 with the Rockies. Please leave your thoughts down below on the final roster and the moves I made to get down to 26 players. And subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so, as there will be more Rockies franchise coming your way. Have a great day, everybody, and I'll see you again soon.